Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for the second of our two Ask Me Anything sessions for our next MAP Velocity programme, which starts in September. My name is Abby. I'll be your host for today's session. I'm the events coordinator for the Melbourne Entrepreneurial Centre, the home of entrepreneurship at the University of Melbourne. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we start. Please do keep your camera on if you're comfortable, but do keep your microphones on mute, please, until we get to the Q&A section later on. And lastly, this session is being recorded and will be uploaded to our MAP YouTube page. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the country from where I'm speaking to you from today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. I pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders joining us here today. So today's Ask Me Anything session gives you the opportunity to learn all about Velocity and hear what the programme is like from a founder who has done it before, and of course ask as many questions as you like. Today we're joined by a participant from the second Velocity programme of 2021, Wayne Gao from FURNISHD, to give you his perspective of the programme. We'll get a short rundown of the programme from Rory McNeice, who is the Velocity Programme Manager, to help you with your application. And then I'll have a chat to our guest Wayne about his Velocity experience before we get into question time, which is of course what you're all here for. And I would recommend as we go along that you write down any questions you want to ask Rory or Wayne to make the most of the time. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Rory. So as I said, Rory is the Velocity Programme Manager, and he is going to give you a detailed rundown of Velocity and how to apply. Thanks, Rory.
Thank you, Abby, and good afternoon, everybody, as it is 2 minutes past 12. Great to have you here. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. I will try not to take up too much of it, so I will share my screen and get started and, excuse me, and give you a run through of the Velocity program for 2022 and everything that you need to know. Everyone can see slides there, all good? Excellent. And if I click it, we'll probably even go ahead. Look at that. All right. Today's agenda, as Abby said, quick introduction to MAP and Velocity, some information about applications, some stories from Wayne, and then answering some questions. So we will dig right into it now. What's MAP? MAP is the Melbourne Accelerator Program, run out of the University of Melbourne. We've been around for 10 years now. We've helped over 160 startups raise over $100 million, generate $120 million in revenue, create about 1,400 jobs. It's a fantastic program for alumni of the university and those working on social impact ventures to take their businesses, accelerate them and grow them to have really meaningful impact out in the world. But we realized a couple of years ago that there was a bit of a problem because, of course, an accelerator program kind of expects that people have already built a business, that they've already found some of their product market fit, they understand who some of their customers are, and that they're at that point where they really want to scale. And so where the accelerator program is focused very much on building that scale and helping businesses grow, Velocity was put together to try and help people who are just at the start of that journey. So not at the stage where they're aiming to get into a program like the accelerator, but pre-accelerator. Because we wanted to make sure that we had a really high quality group of people who are learning the fundamentals and helping them start their business in the right kind of way, such that somewhere down the line, they could come through the accelerator. So that's why Velocity was put together, to try and make sure that we're able to help people just starting out on that part of their entrepreneurial journey. The other way that we like to put it is that we do it to support early stage, high potential founders. So basically all of you. We're looking for people who are working on interesting and exciting ideas that have a lot of potential to make a big difference in the world, and we want to do what we can to try and support you. Velocity itself has supported over 160 founders and over 100 startups. About 60% of those are still in operation, which we actually consider to be a really important point of pride, I suppose, almost, because we think it's very important that we're making sure that these businesses are able to grow and become well established, not necessarily become the biggest thing in the world, but help them grow to the point that they need to get to become a sustainable business. We also use Velocity, as I said, as a pre-accelerator. So it's designed to get some of those fundamentals out into the ecosystem and to help people find their feet, such that they can then progress on to other programs that are run outside Velocity. Obviously, the Melbourne Accelerator Program is one of those accelerators, but we are so very happy that companies that have come through Velocity and founders that have come through Velocity have gone on to all sorts of other programs, excuse me, at other universities, at other accelerators, have been funded by all sorts of great and interesting organizations within the Victorian ecosystem. And we're very proud to be able to be that doorway to help people get their foot in. Some of the outcomes that we've seen through Velocity, over $8.9 million has been raised in funding from those early stage businesses, $6.4 million in revenue, although I suspect, as we will hear from Wayne, that they're doing their best to skew that number much higher, and over 220 jobs being created as a result as well. But a big focus for what we do within Velocity is to make sure that we get a nice diverse cohort. And so 52% of the businesses that have come through have been female founded, and 48% of those have been impact focused. And part of the reason that we do that is because at this very early stage of the entrepreneurial journey, a very important thing is pattern matching. Because humans are kind of a pattern matching machine. That's what we do. We see things, we learn from someone else's example, and then we're able to apply it ourselves. And so a key part of what we try to do through Velocity is bring in a very exciting and diverse cohort of people from all sorts of different backgrounds and all sorts of different experiences, so that we're having the strongest possible cohort effect. So that if you have 15 years in supply chain management, you can learn from someone who's fresh out of an engineering degree and vice versa. And we see that as one of the most powerful and most compelling pieces of what happens throughout the program. It gives you the opportunity to build that network and those connections and those relationships to learn from other founders who are going through many of the same struggles you are. So what exactly does Velocity do? Well, it helps speed up the search for problem solution fit and helps you discover first customers. And what we mean by that is that it's very much about asking the question of, in terms of the business that you're trying to build, who are the people who are going to benefit from it? Who are the people who are going to use that particular solution? And what's the very specific problem that they're trying to solve? Why are they looking for your product? What is it that they need? And what are you helping them do? And how have you made sure that what you're building is a solution that really tackles that primary need of that customer? So it's very much about understanding the role that your business is trying to play in a customer's life and how you're trying to contribute to what it is that they're trying to do. There's a $500 cost to the program, which is primarily to make sure that people stick around and do it, because we've had the experiences in the past, and I'm sure that everybody has seen this with free programs where people disappear partway through. And we basically want to make sure that you're coming in because you want to be here, and we want you to learn as much as possible. We have a series of structured workshops, which I think I have on my next slide, yes, which run on Thursday evenings from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Running from the 22nd of September 2022 to the 8th of December 2022. I'm glad it's in 2022, not 2023, because otherwise I'd be getting well and truly ahead of myself. And the other key aspects of the program beyond those workshops, which are very much about content delivery and getting to understand a lot of these important concepts in the startup ecosystem, is the mentoring aspect, which is an opportunity to connect with some of the mentors and alumni through the MAP network, and through to industry specialists who are genuine experts in their field and almost certainly have solved the problems that you'll be facing. They're great sources of advice and great sources of understanding of what's happening in the ecosystem to be able to better find your feet and either succeed or fail quickly, because that's a key part of what we try to achieve, is that if you're going to fail, we want you to fail quickly so that you can move on to the next thing and try that. The other big parts of the program are, of course, the showcase, which is at the end, which is an opportunity for 10 of the participants to get up in front of a very interesting and exciting group of people. All sorts of members of our community, mentors, advisors, investors, and other general enthusiasts for the startup ecosystem to pitch their business, to get up there and spend 3 minutes explaining, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Why is it exciting? And why should people care? It's a fantastic opportunity to, what's the word I want? It's a fantastic opportunity to sort of proudly announce to the world, I'm here and this is what I'm doing. It's a fantastic way to get your business out there. And of course, as part of this, you also become part of the MAP alumni network and have the opportunity to network and connect with other founders and others who are in our network. I keep saying the word network, in order to further progress your business. So what does it look like? This is a very quick overview of what the kind of topics we cover are, starting from sort of a session 0, which is very much about getting to know each other, getting to understand the cohort, learning about the value of the cohort and how we're structuring the particular clusters within the cohort to make sure that you're in small groups where you can all learn from each other. And then each week we'll cover a different topic. So starting very high level with things like the business model canvas and customer discovery and development to understand what's the basic structure of your business model and who are your customers, through to systems mapping and value creation to understand what it is that you're solving for those customers and how you fit into the bigger system around your business. Through minimum viable products and intellectual property, so understanding how can you test what you're doing quickly and cheaply, and how do you make sure that you're doing it legally and protecting your IP so that you can continue to build on what you're doing. A review session in the middle to just see how we're tracking and have a think about what's your go-to-market strategy, who are the people you're targeting first, and how are you going to reach them. Looking at human capital and understanding who are the advisors that you have that you can reach out to for support, and also understanding how you can better engage with a team. Marketing and pricing to understand how to sell what you're doing and how much to sell it for. Fundraising, which is more about the different options for progressing your business, whether that's bootstrapping your business by funding it yourself from your own revenue, or whether that's looking to external capital coming in from angel investors or impact investors or venture capitalists. Pitching and storytelling, which is all about how do you make sure that people remember what you're doing, and then an opportunity to sort of reflect and reset and think about what the next steps are, followed by the showcase and an opportunity to celebrate together. That's a very high level overview. In terms of the timeline, I actually can't remember what the date is today. I'm doing very well. I think today is the 10th. There we go. So we've got 1 week today until, I should be able to figure that out from a Wednesday. 1 week today until applications close, after which we will move through those applications and shortlist people for interviews. You'll be contacted, I think, within 2 days. So by the end of the 19th of August, if you're successful in that first stage, to set up an opportunity for an interview with some of the MAP team on the 29th, 30th or 31st of August. That's an opportunity for us to sit down with you, ask some questions, get to understand who you are, a bit more about your background and more about your business, and really make sure that we're able to help you out through the Velocity program. Because a key part of what we look for in selection is how can we help you? This is not a university subject. This is not a high school competition. We're not looking for the best possible business idea. We're not looking for everything to be polished and perfect and shiny when you present it to us through the application. We're looking for where can we add the most value and where can we help and support you grow and help your business grow. So that's a key part of what we're looking for in the application. After the interview stage, the final cohort will be announced on the 2nd of September, at which point we take up to 35 founders into the program. And then we still didn't get rid of that word online in there. I could have sworn I did that. But with this particular cohort of the program is actually run in person here at Melbourne Connect, which is a lovely shiny building at the University of Melbourne near the corner of Swanston and Grattan Streets. So we will be here in person from the 22nd of September to the 8th of December on Thursday evenings, chatting away and learning some really, really interesting things. So in terms of the application, what does it look like? It's pretty straightforward. There are 3 main sections. The first is about your startup and your eligibility. Again, very straightforward, just understanding what's the business, what are you working on, those kinds of questions, followed by details about the founders, who's the team, what's your experience, what are you working on within the business, what's your role, that sort of thing, to understand who you are and where you've come from, and again, get a better understanding of you as an entrepreneur. And the one that everybody always asks questions about is the 3-minute pitch. Yes, it is a 3-minute pitch. Yes, it is a 3-minute recorded video pitch. That can be quite daunting. My immediate piece of advice about it is, don't worry, it's not designed to be something where you have to get it absolutely perfect. As with all the other pieces of this application, it's mostly so that we can get a better understanding of you, where your business is at, and how you're doing and how we can help. So in terms of a successful application, these are the key areas that we tend to look for. And these are things that you will find people are looking for in startups and in small businesses, whether you're applying for something like Velocity or just in general. We're looking for an understanding of the problem. So what are you actually trying to solve, and who are you solving that for? What is your solution and how does it fit that problem? What is your target market? Who are the people that you're going after first and why? Who are you and who are your team? Why are you the right people to solve this problem? Why is now the right time in terms of the timing? Is there something that's happened out there in the ecosystem that means that this is an exciting new opportunity? What traction do you have? What have you already done to try and progress this? Or, do you already have customers? What's your business model? Basically, how are you going to make money? And then we actually also specifically ask the question of how can we help? What are the things that you're looking to get out of the program? Now, when I say a strong response to the following points, I don't actually mean that you need to have a perfect answer for everything, as I said. It's more for us to understand where you're at. If there's a section here that you don't necessarily have a clear answer to, you're very welcome to say that. If you're struggling with understanding who your target market is, say so. That helps us understand what it is that we can focus on through the program to try and help you. So in terms of the pitch, generally speaking, this is kind of like a standard format for a startup pitch. 5-second introduction, problem, solution, market, business model, traction, competition, team, and what's next. Basically all the things that we just spoke about on the previous slide. Not prescriptive. Oh, sorry, Abby, I just see a note about a bit of noise and feedback. Not sure what I can do about that. I will, maybe if I try to speak a bit more clearly, then that will hopefully help. I'll cross my fingers. But so yes, 3 minutes long. Key to remember is that each of these areas is something that's actually a very important part of your business. The reason that we give you a 3-minute pitch is because a lot of the time it's very difficult to really cut down to what's the essence of the answer to each of these questions. That's what we're really looking for here. We're looking for your ability to focus down and really understand what are the key parts that you need to communicate in 10 to 15 seconds about the size of your target market. There are plenty of examples on the pitch library on the MAP website. I strongly recommend going through and having a look at those to get an understanding of what we're looking for. And it'll also just be generally good for you as experience. In terms of preparing your pitch, I strongly recommend doing a lot of different versions. Start early, keep refining it down. Make sure that you practice and remember it. It's a lot easier to do if you've run through it 20 times before you even start recording. Show it to people who don't know anything about your business, friends or family. Sit down with them and run through the pitch with them and get some feedback from them. Ask them the question of, did this make sense? Do you understand what I'm doing? Is there anywhere that you felt like you had an obvious question that I didn't answer? This is a great opportunity to get their feedback. Understanding, of course, that their feedback it's all just their opinion. It's all just their experience. It's mostly valid and it's not personal. A lot of the time, if you sit down and ask these kinds of questions, it can be quite confronting when someone gives you feedback saying, yeah, I just really didn't like that part. It didn't flow neatly. Feels like an attack on you as a person. It's not. It's about understanding how you can best communicate that information to the audience. And in this case, the audience is us as the MAP team. As I've said several times now, I think a key part of what we're looking for is how can we help you? And for you to be clear and honest about what's the current state of your business. We don't want to hear sunshine and roses and don't want you to polish everything up to be perfect. Clear and realistic is most helpful for us to get an understanding of you and your business so that we can know whether or not we can help you. In terms of the interview stage, if you make it through, general interviewing tips, come prepared. Have an understanding of what are some of the case studies or examples that you might be talking about and understand what metrics you might need to know about. If you're in, for example, a software as a service business, how many users do you have? What's your churn rate? Some of those basic bits and pieces. Let us lead the questions. We know what we're doing. We know what we're asking about, and it's totally fine. If you feel like we've avoided an issue, it's probably because we already understand it and we're happy with your answers that you've given through the application. So make sure that you keep your responses concise, which is exactly what I don't do a lot of the time, but because it gives us more of an opportunity to ask more questions. If you can, focus on real traction and progress. What are the things that you've done to date to demonstrate your momentum, and what's your plan from here? And if you have co-founders who will also be there in the interview, make sure that you practice together. Understand who's going to be answering about which particular topics, because that'll save you trying to wrangle this in the moment and have to say, oh, what would you like to, oh no, actually, maybe you should. Understand who the expert is, defer to them and trust that their answer is there. It doesn't need to be 100% perfect. And of course, keep it real. If you don't know the answer to the question, it's perfectly fine to say that you don't know the answer. It's better that you say that than make something up. And of course, relax and have fun. This is all supposed to be enjoyable. A couple of final bits of advice as I wrap up this section. Of course, focus on building a great startup. Focus on your business. A lot can happen between now and when the applications close. A lot of things can happen in the space of 1 week, but make sure that you're still focusing on your business and what you can do to grow that. And of course, make sure you get the application in. You have, I think it's a week and 4 hours at this point. So plenty of time. Again, don't worry about making that pitch perfect. It doesn't need to be, the Steve Jobs keynote presentation at an Apple conference. Just needs to be 3 minutes, trying to deal with and address all those topics that we talked about before. And just make sure that you cover it and get it through quality, not super relevant. From here, important things to do, book in for office hours. I've got a couple more office hours sessions still available next week. It's an opportunity to sit down with me for 20 minutes, half an hour, have a chat about your business, about your application, just get some general advice and feedback. I'm so happy to do that. You'll find that if you click on that link or go to that link, you can literally book straight into my calendar. As I keep saying to everybody who comes through the program, my office hours and the office hours that I offer to both applicants and participants are something I consider sacred. You have the ability to book straight into my calendar. You don't need approval. You don't need anything. You book it in and I will show up. Not even my girlfriend can do that. She still has to ask me. But at this stage, as applicants, you can book straight into my calendar and I will be there. And of course, make sure that you apply for the program because it's all kind of moot if you don't get the application in. And that is a very quick whirlwind tour around the Velocity program and the application process. I'm sure that there will be many questions, but I'm happy to, I think, pass back to you, Abby, now to have a bit of a chat with Wayne, and we'll come to the questions at the end.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Rory. So I'd now like to welcome our guest, Wayne. Thank you so much for joining us. Wayne, could you please tell us about your background and how FURNISHD came about?
Oh yeah, of course. Thanks, Abby. Hi everyone. My name is Wayne, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of FURNISHD. We are offering online surveys that helps time for interior lovers to furnish their homes with a designer's vision, access, and assistance. And basically, we're on a mission to make stunning interior curations accessible for every home. I always have a genuine passion for design, building solutions for home-related business. So prior to co-founding FURNISHD, I was leading a team of 5 as head of product to build it up like an app as a virtual butler system, and that was to kind of match convenient household services to the time for homeowners. The app worked well, but we still failed in the end because we kind of struggled to find the product market fit. And I definitely learned a lot through that, but definitely in the hard way. I wish I joined MAB very earlier. But those lessons definitely leads to the next adventure, which is FURNISHD. So yeah, today definitely keen to share more journey with you guys in terms of how MAB Velocity program helped us.
Great, thank you for that introduction, Wayne. So what I'm going to do now is I'll start off by asking Wayne a few more questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So Wayne, what was your experience like with Velocity, and how did it help with your startup journey?
Yeah, I guess I'll start from talking about the program and also the community. So for the program, as Roy introduced, for us, we mainly gather the fundamental knowledge about startups, about business, and about the customers. We know exactly, we kind of, before joining the program, we're not that sure about what we should focus and what we should prioritize. There are just so many tasks that we need to do every day. You have to talk to the customer, you have to build a product, but what to focus and how we can kind of grow fast. I think those are some clarity that we definitely get a lot through the sessions. That's definitely valuable. I still remember one of the sessions about the pricing. That helped a lot. We kind of just reviewed and refined our pricing strategy a lot. We kind of change it from the cost-based to the value-based model. And then we kind of launched a free design consultation, which then help us gather more leads from the customers, which is awesome. And then the final stage of the program, the final page night, was definitely one of the peak moment for us. We were fortunate enough to kind of be selected and got to speak on stage, and that definitely helped a lot with the public speaking. And also as a founder, you have to pitch like tons of time to customers, to investors, to partners. So that was definitely we gained so much insights with it. So that was a great experience. And then for the community, as Rory mentioned, the MAP team members super helpful. The mentors network, that just it's just valuable asset. You kind of just got a ticket into like all those conversations with those experienced industry leaders. You always start with the conversation like, "Hey, I'm from MAP Velocity, and I just wonder if you can help me with these." And then they are so generous and they're super helpful. We just definitely love that as like one of the kind of key secrets to kind of break the ice, which is great for us. Yeah, I think the experience is awesome and just super helpful for us.
Great, thank you. Could you tell everyone also how you found the recruitment process and I suppose how you prepared for your 3-minute video pitch?
Oh yes, so I found it through one of the LinkedIn posts. So I was browsing and just looking to join find a community that was surrounded by the early stage founders or just with like fast growing startups, so I can learn. Yeah, that LinkedIn post kind of just leads to the MAP website, which kind of holds most of the information there. It's super straightforward. In terms of the preparation for the 3-minute pitch, yeah, in the first place, I was quite nervous about it. I don't know where to start, but then I got the instructions from the information I received through the newsletter, which is again super helpful. The pitch format kind of just explain what I need to kind of prepare to be covered in this pitch, and basically just follow that. And then, as Roy mentioned, I watch a lot of like great pitch examples on the YouTube channels, and just listen, just hear how other co-founders kind of just talk about their business, which is again super helpful. Sorry, I say helpful so many times, but that's what I feel. And then I guess then start with the script and practice it to your family members, to your friends, to people who might not know your business, and see their feedback, and then can keep improving it, and then talk to the camera. That's it.
That's great. What would you say the most valuable thing you learned during Velocity was?
I kind of feel like it's one of the defining moments for us as a business for FURNISHD, because we know what to focus, what to improve, and what to avoid to kind of grow fast. That's definitely really insightful. And for me and my co-founder, I kind of feel like it's also a defining moment because we kind of feel home when joining the MAP community. You are not alone. I mean, previously you have to kind of when you talk to the customer, or when you kind of talk to the team members, you have to stick to the mission, stick to the vision, and kind of just be the role model for the rest of the team. But in here, you are willing to, the other team members, they are just willing to listen to whatever help that you might need, and you can always feel free to just ask for help, which is quite it's not normal when you are back to the standard business. So that community, the feeling of home definitely made us relieve a lot, and so we can have the right mindset and then focus a lot on the business.
Yeah, great. Do you have any advice for any of the other founders in the room who are interested in joining the program?
Yes, I guess the top one is definitely just get started now and just submit your application, and I think just do it, and then it will lead to the next like adventure where you could learn a lot of things that I didn't expect in the first place. And then second thing I would say, probably just one of the value thing I forgot to mention previously is kind of you got the opportunity to listen to those practical insights, like the memorable stories shared by the other like mentors, and some of the life experience. I mean, that experience could lead to the problem that you want to solve at the moment. And also you you got the opportunity to kind of learn the mindset from the best. And that will be the key, I think, for me. So yeah, to sum it up, I guess the advice would be just get started.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just another question as well. So Wayne, you're now a participant in the 2022 MAP program. Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
So how would you say that Velocity helped you prepare for MAP?
Oh yeah, definitely. You feel the Velocity is like a start, like kind of give you like a brief in terms of like startup 101, and it's like a great resource that you can get not a full picture, but still like at least a vague idea in terms of what's included in there, and then it just helps you kind of just be more focused in the idea, so you can kind of keep iterate that and improve that, and then the more you learn through the Velocity program, the better you will kind of get yourself prepared to apply to the MAP program. That's what we feel like.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so it's just after 12:30. We're going to get stuck into some questions now. So we really love to see who's asking the questions. So if you are comfortable popping your cameras on, that would be great. Even better, you know, if you do apply for the program, then we all already know who you are. So as we've got an intimate group this afternoon, please do feel free to put your hand up or just take yourself off mute to ask Rory or Wayne a question. Or if you would prefer, then you can just pop it in the question chat, and then we'll get to them in order. So yeah, go ahead.
Just while we're waiting for first questions, I just want to pick up on what Wayne was saying there about Velocity as a sort of startup 101. And that's very much the approach we try to take. Is the way that I like to describe it is that we're providing an index. We're not necessarily providing the full library of all the content and diving right into solving the particular problem you have right now, because odds are that problem, when you're as early stage as companies coming through Velocity, will be completely different next week. So what we really try to do is build out that index and that understanding of what does the overall startup landscape look like? What are the different kinds of business models that are out there? What are the different ways that you can try and market something? Who are the different possible customer segments that we could be engaging with? Not necessarily to be able to find the precise answer for you today, but so that when you have to ask that question in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years' time, you know what the options out there are. And you know, oh, of course, when I'm talking about marketing, I know that mentor who we spoke to in Velocity, I'll reach out to them and have a chat because I'm sure they can give me a really good insight. Or, you know, I understand that there are a couple of different ways I can look at this customer segment. And I know that I don't remember exactly what it was supposed to look like, but I know exactly what I should be looking up in order to find that out to help my business. So yeah, very much trying to make sure that we've given you a good lay of the land and a good understanding so that when you come across a problem, you might not necessarily have the answer, but you have the tools to be able to find that answer.
Yeah, thank you, Rory. We've got a hand up from Juan. Do you want to pop yourself off mute?
Yep, definitely. Good afternoon. Thank you for the session. It was great. Question from me is, do you have to be in a particular stage of your journey to apply to Velocity? Because if I understood well, the program is meant for early stage entrepreneurs. So, but how early is the question? So if you, for example, already had some customer validation and you already did this, but you haven't launched or you don't have traction yet in sales. So what is the ideal stage?
Great question. The best way that I find to describe it is to say that overall participants coming through Velocity kind of fall into 2 buckets. So there are quite a few that come through who might actually already have a couple of initial customers and maybe starting to get some of those initial sales, but don't necessarily have a clear understanding of why that's working. So they've stumbled across a particular customer segment and stumbled across doing the right thing and are saying, hang on, I don't know why this is working. It's working, but I want to understand it better to make sure that I know what I'm doing and I don't double down on something without realizing why that's actually a good thing to focus on. So in that case, it's more of sort of looking back at what they've already done to apply some of these innovation frameworks to build out the right structures so that as they continue to grow, they're growing in a way that makes sense. They're using the right frameworks to be able to focus in on what's really going to have the biggest impact for their business. The other bucket in my experience, tend to be people who are really passionate, really excited entrepreneurs who are right at the start of their journey. They've got an idea, they're trying to get an understanding of it and saying, I know that there's something in this area that I really want to solve. It's an area I'm passionate about, but I don't know where to get started. So the cohort tends to be a bit of a mix between the two of those. And that's actually really, as I keep saying, a big part of what we try to do is have a diverse set of experiences coming through the cohort. And that can be a really valuable part of it, because you might have someone who's coming through, say it's Wayne, he's come through, he's got a couple of early customers and is trying to understand, how am I going to reach out to those particular customers? At the same time, someone that might be in Wayne's cluster within the cohort could be someone who has 10, 15 years of marketing experience and who's trying to start a business focused on one particular niche aspect that they've discovered a problem within marketing. So they might be a much earlier stage entrepreneur, but have a lot of that marketing experience that someone like Wayne, who is a more experienced entrepreneur, but doesn't have that marketing experience, needs. So it's a fantastic cohort from that perspective of being able to bring people in from a huge diverse range of backgrounds in a way that puts together a cohort where everybody learns so much from each other. I mean, I keep saying that realistically, and if I'm being 100% transparent, everything in terms of the content that you learn through Velocity, you can probably just find on YouTube. It exists out there. The real value that you get is in getting to build those relationships with that cohort, getting an understanding from other people who have skills and experience outside of yours so they can help solve your problems, building that network of people within the entrepreneurial ecosystem and getting access to some of the mentors and support.
Great, thank you. Got another hand up from Prashant. Did you want to pop yourself off mute? Thanks. Oh, still on mute there. There we go.
Good afternoon. I think now I am audible. Well, I have two small questions. One is that, see, I am trying to seek help from the map. I'm not yet able to understand that where I'm lacking to meet the requirement to enter into the map. This is one. Second is, I have one international student with me who is the co-founder with me. I don't know whether he is eligible with me to participate in it, and I don't know whether he is the hindrance me to get not selected here. This is the question.
For a question like that, I think best thing to do, make a time with me and we'll go through it in office hours, because then I can get a better understanding of the business and the background, and particularly this setup with the international student. So yeah, if you've got the link there to the office hours, put it in, let's have a chat early next week, and I'll be able to help you in more detail there.
Okay, but at least international student co-founder is not an issue.
It shouldn't be, no.
Beautiful. That's excellent. And one more thing, actually 2nd September, I am expected to be traveling outside Australia. Is it possible that I can take this interview virtually in case if selected?
Sorry, was the question to be able to go to the next cohort, or was it to be able to participate online?
No, not participate. It is a physical presence is required for participation. But during the process, when there will be interview conducted.
So the interview steps will be conducted online.
Yeah.
Just to try and make things nice and quick and easy, and to save everybody having to trek all the way in. So interviews are conducted online just to make everything easier for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, great. I've got another question that's come through in the chat. So this would be one for you, Rory. What kinds of startups do you not accept into Velocity? Like, are there any common themes on applications that get rejected, or any common mistakes that people might make?
Good question. One thing that I definitely need to clarify is obviously that as part of the University of Melbourne, we follow the university's guidelines around not engaging with certain kinds of technologies. Those are things like weapons and bombs and other military related technology, also things around fossil fuels are generally frowned upon. because we're more interested in renewables. So those tend to be categories that we don't deal with just because the university doesn't deal with them. In terms of other categories, I mean, we tend to have a fairly broad remit. Obviously, I strongly encourage you, particularly if your approach has a technology related aspect, because a key part of the value of a startup is being scalable, and technology makes a lot of things more scalable. At the same time, that doesn't mean that you have to be building an entirely technology-based product. I mean, Wayne, for example, is a fantastic example of where they're using technology to improve a real-world service. It's not like they're just furnishing a virtual home. These are people who are getting real furniture ending up in their real home thanks to Wayne and Furnished. So there's nothing that is strictly excluded, barring those things that the university doesn't deal with. And again, part of the reason that we like to do that is because there are all sorts of valuable things you can learn from people who are working in these different industries. And we've had interesting cases where people who have experience in very real world supply chain management, for example, are able to provide insights to people who are working on something to the software as a service. So broadly speaking, most things are very welcome to apply.
Great, thank you. I've got another one in the chat, Rory. Can Velocity participants use office space at Melbourne Connect?
Great question. And the answer is yes. So through the course of the program, there is access to hot desking here at Melbourne Connect in and around the MAP teams. There's a really great opportunity to build some of those networks and build some of those connections and get to see people like me and Wayne in the flesh, and you as well, of course, Abby. But yeah, it's a really exciting precinct to be involved in. There's all sorts of interesting things happening, and there's a lot of value in just having that space outside, because obviously, at this very early stage, most people working on these kinds of businesses tend to be working out of their home. And being able to have a physical separation of space where you can say, yep, I'm going to come in, I'm going to work out of the hot desks at Melbourne Connect. It gives you the opportunity to set everything else aside and focus on the business for that period of time, which is really valuable. And again, a great way to connect with the cohort. So strongly encourage that as well.
Awesome, thank you. I think the next person with a hand up was Kaja. Did you want to pop yourself off mute?
Yeah, hi, it's Kaya, but that's okay. Everyone makes that mistake, perfectly fine. And my question's for Wayne. I just wanted to ask, I think it was really helpful when you provided that specific example of how, out of Velocity, you really gained insights into your pricing model. Could you provide some other specific examples of things that the program helped you with? And obviously that would be different for different businesses, but I think those specific examples are super helpful.
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so there's a certain exercise like we got the opportunity to kind of just go through certain tasks or exercise to kind of just recreate the business model canvas. I think that's a great way to kind of just review what we are doing, because things everyone is running their own startup, but at the end of the day, that's still a business they are trying to build, and try to use that exercise, try to use that Canva to kind of review each key segments there and kind of to see to get a clarity in terms of what works and what didn't work. I think that kind of add more value to us. And then by doing that, we kind of know, okay, so those are the partners that we should look into, those are the suppliers that we should look into, and those are the customer key segment customers that we should look into. Otherwise, we kind of just have everything in our mind, and sometimes it's really hard to kind of just focus. That's at least for me. And I kind of feel like with the Canva, with everything written, and later I can share that with our team members, and they can all jump in and kind of just help and kind of just quick stuff, and then kind of allow the whole team to work together and on one stuff. I think that's super helpful.
Yeah, awesome.
Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay, I've got somebody else with their hand up, and then I've got a couple of questions in the chat. Is it Bolo? Pop yourself off mute.
Hi, sorry, I just joined in late. I don't know if this has already been asked, but I was wondering for the Velocity program, it says that it's for earlier stage founders. So how early is early? So as in is it just an idea or already have some like or an idea that has already been tested and that's scaling, or like, sorry if this has already been asked.
That's all right. It has been asked, so I'll answer it very briefly, but we've had everything come through from like early stage to the point of literally being just an idea, and people looking to get an understanding of what steps do they need to be thinking about in terms of starting to build out that idea. Through to probably at the later stage is maybe like a bit of revenue and some customers, but still tend to be in a place where they feel like they haven't really nailed that product market fit, and they're not really 100% sure that what they're doing is the right thing. So it's very much about that early stage piece before scaling. That's critical to focus on that foundational piece of understanding. What does this look like? How do we make sure we've built the right pieces on the ground in the first instance before getting to that scaling stage?
Mm-hmm. I see. And thank you so much. And the $500, is that after you get selected, you pay?
Yes, that's correct. That's for people who are selected and actually participate in the program. It's not an application fee, it's a program participation fee.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Another question sent to me in the chat: are startups focusing on markets outside of Australia eligible to apply?
Yes, is the short answer. You're eligible to apply. If I'm being fully honest, you may not get quite as much out of the program, just because a lot of the experience and expertise that our mentors have is focused on the Australian market. That said, a lot of them do have some international experience, and a lot of these concepts apply regardless of where you are in the world. But I think it will be important in that kind of a case to be mindful that when you're going out and getting an understanding of who your customers are, that you should be making sure you're doing so in that particular target market.
Okay, thank you. Fiona has asked, can you do the course more than once with a different business or even the same business?
Like in theory, you can. I wouldn't really encourage it. And the reason that I say that is because I would hope that after having been through it once, you've built out enough of those frameworks that it doesn't really matter what the business you're working on is, that these are things that you can apply anywhere. And to put that in a different kind of context, I have a very interesting definition of success for the Velocity program, because generally speaking, when I talk about this with friends and family, etc., they say, "Oh, so success for you is a company becomes $1 billion business." And to me, the answer to that is no. That's one kind of success. If they become $1 billion business, great. That's fantastic. I'm really happy to see it. If they come through a program like Velocity and realize, oh, actually, there isn't a market actually at that scale for us. We're not going to be $1 billion business, but we might be a $10 million business. And that's what we can focus on doing. Then that's fantastic. That's a success. If they come through Velocity and they realize, oh, there's actually not a market for this at all. Nobody needs this to be solved and it's never going to work. We're going to have to shut this business down. Then great, that's a success. Because it means that they've found that early and they've found that without investing too much time and energy. Because the last thing I want to see is people investing 3 years into a startup that was doomed from the start because they didn't have a proper understanding of who the target market was, what the problem they're really solving is. So to go back to the question, yes, in theory, you could come through it multiple times, but the goal is such that you have the right tools and skills to be able to assess any startup idea from here, all the way into the future, and to be able to apply these frameworks to understand how to progress that. And of course, as I said, a big part of the value is in building those relationships with the cohort and with the MAP community. And you get that through the first time. So I suppose a long-winded way to say, yes, in theory you could, but you probably wouldn't need to.
All right, thanks, Rory. Next question, also in the chat. Will the program help with the development of the actual product or an MVP?
If I'm understanding the question right, it's asking whether or not we are actually getting involved in helping doing the development itself, to which the answer is no. It is not, as I say to people all throughout the program, it's still your business. We're not here to run your business for you. We're here to give you an understanding of a better way to run your business and better things to focus on and the right way to put things together. Obviously, there is a session on minimum viable products, which is all about understanding when you're building out that MVP, what should it look like? And of course, throughout the program, you have the opportunity to speak to me and other mentors to ask questions and get some insights into what that minimum viable product should be and how you should be focusing your energy and attention, because that's, you know, a critical thing that you have as a startup founder is a lack of time. So being able to find that focus and drive your energy towards that is really valuable. But no, we will not be the one sitting there and helping you build the MVP. We'll be helping you understand what should be built.
Thank you.
Sorry, hi Rory. I was the one who asked the question because it was a bit loud near my house. Anyway, now it's gone quiet, so I can ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
So you know, during that MVP session, or even throughout the program, so we'll be able to sort of you know, an MVP can look like you know, a Google Excel spreadsheet that you use. Then you'll be able to sort of direct us into the right direction of what, you know, without wasting any valuable resources or time, you know, like, because you think an MVP should be tech focused, and then, you know, you go and spend hundreds or not even thousands of dollars. So is that, so that you guys will be able to help with that sort of in that direction, wouldn't you?
Yes. So in terms of the advice of what an MVP should look like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there was a conversation I had with a founder here the other week who's working on a particular service, and we were talking about I'm being wary not to sort of disclose too much about this person's business, but you know, we were talking about a part of a process that's currently you know, people driven, and they're trying to build out a technology that will basically enable that to be automated. And, you know, we were having the conversation around, well, if you wanted to test this, what would you need to do? And he was like, oh, well, we'd have to build out a system to do this. We need to do this. And I said, no, you wouldn't need to build out a system to do that. All you really need is, you know, a Google Doc template here that plugs into this, which then gets, you know, put into a particular format that gets sent to the person doing this piece of the work, and you've been able to streamline the process. And so being able to do a lot of that thinking about which parts of the process are you trying to sort of strip back and make absolutely minimal, and how can you do that quickly and cheaply to test it? And then, you know, if you test this piece and it works, what would the next piece be? That sort of a conversation is what we'd be talking about. But I'm not a developer. I'm not going to be sitting down next to you saying, oh, you need to change the, you know, line 35 of the code because it's created a loop. Like, I don't even know if that makes sense as an example. That's how much I'm not a developer.
No, that's,
I hope that clarifies the question.
Yeah, for sure. That just brings me up to Wayne. Just one more question. How was it for you, Wayne, when you you know, developed your MVP, and what did it look like for you, and what were your sort of non-negotiables, or like how did the program help you develop, you know, that product?
So for us, the MVP actually start with just a simple PDF presentation, and that actually happens before Map Velocity. But at that stage, we, as I mentioned, I kind of learned from my past experience that I shouldn't invest too much in a tech at a very early stage, especially when we haven't even spoke to our like potential customers. So we try to kind of get something, kind of prepare something as like a demo, which is for us, it's just like a PDF document. And then we bring that demo to the potential audience, and we ask their feedback, and we ask, how do you feel like that? Do you reckon that will solve the problem? And then they were like, oh, sure, I love it, and I'm willing to pay you. Then you start to gain revenue. And that's kind of like a great sign that there's someone there is willing to pay for the solution they are offering. That's like a sign of kind of like you are gradually hitting there. And then we kind of keep improving that presentation from just like a PDF, random PDF, into like a formalized one, and then we'll kind of bring that into surveys, into like an experience, and then kind of that later became what we are offering at the kind of stage, and online surveys. And what I learned through Map is through the Map Velocity is more about the pricing part that I mentioned previously, and definitely the section about MVP helped me a lot in terms of I'm more confident in terms of the way that I use, the method I use was right in the past, which will lead me to, if I'm going to offer more offering to the customer, I'm going to use that framework to test. So I want kind of like, okay, so I can improve that offering works. When it comes to a new offering, I'm confident enough to kind of invest a lot in the tech. No, I will still go through the same framework and to test. So I guess that's a great lesson for us, and definitely kind of like add a like great mindset to the whole team.
Really great. Thank you. Thanks, Wayne. Cheers.
No worries.
Thank you. We've got another couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to ask these two and then we'll leave it at that for today because it's going to run out of time. So can you apply for the course with 2 different ideas and test out both in the Velocity program? One for you, Rory.
Good question. Technically, yes, but I would say apply with the one that you are leaning most towards. But it'd still be possible to put a bit more information into the application about it to say, look, this is one of 2 ideas that we want to test. In theory, you could, of course, submit 2 applications and say that we'd be happy to come in with either of them. But yes, I see nothing wrong with being able to apply twice for 2 different ideas.
Wonderful, thank you. And the last one is for you, Wayne. So Karen in the chat says, I'd love to hear from Wayne if he could share how far he has come from when he did Velocity and where he is now having gotten into MAP.
Yeah, so I've got one number that I can share, like for last year. So we helped around 50 Temple homeowners to furnish their home. And that was after, sorry, that was my dog. That was after a Velocity. And then this year when I'm in MAP, so it's probably over half of this year. So we already achieved over 70. So kind of we already double what we have achieved last year. So I would say that will be the main value we gain through the program. We optimize the pricing. We keep optimizing the pipeline so we can get more leads from the customers, and that leads to the traction that we're gaining today. So very grateful for the program.
Wonderful, thanks for sharing. Okay, so we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we'll start to wrap it up there. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Wayne for sharing your journey and insights with us. Your generosity is massively appreciated by the MEC team and the MAP team and by everybody else who has joined us here today. So I will share the slides along with the recording of today's session with you all by email later. And yeah, with that, I think we'll wrap up the session. So thank you all for joining us. If you have any further questions, please do touch base with Rory, or you can just shoot an email through to info@themap.co. And remember to book office hours before Rory's diary completely fills up. The last thing as well, just to mention, please make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter and follow us on social media for application updates, events, and all of the fun stuff that we get up to at MAP. So bye for now and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, Rory. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.